morning, Wisconsin, and welcome to Fridays with Father, the show where we find priests, we interview them, we have fun doing it. And of course, I'm your host, Andy Shmura. With me today is a very special guest. His name is Father Joel Sember. Father, you having a good morning? Happy Easter.
Yeah, happy Easter. Christ is risen.
And I love the thing you got going.
Yeah, I figured Father Schuster was wearing one, so just
You have to
out of respect, How do you like it?
I think it's great.
Okay. Well, now that I'm back home, I guess I don't have to wear my mask anymore in case this post goes viral. I mean, if it goes viral, we might want to protect people, you know what I mean? Yeah. All right.
Father Joel is he's a pastor. He's at 3 parishes, actually. He also has a beard. Father's at Holy Trinity in Acanto, St. Anthony and Acanto Falls, also St. Patrick in Style. So, Father, I'm really excited to do this interview. I know it's Easter season, but I actually wanted to shift gears for it because I know you've been working on something very special for Advent. From what I understand, you have a book that you're writing coming out this summer, and it's going to be a list of meditations for Advent. I was wondering, what was your inspiration to write such a book?
Yeah, well, it's been a bit of a process. A couple years ago at Christmas time, I was going through, all these different Advent books that come in the mail to try to pick out which one I wanted to do for my parish. And I just had this thought, I've been on the Institute for Priestly Formation Spiritual Director Training Program. So I've actually been a spiritual director for Spiritus since the very beginning, since Team 1. Before they even were naming the teams. But I always wanted at some point to get some training. So I finally signed up for this spiritual director training program. And it wasn't just about skills for being a spiritual director. It was also about how I personally could pray better. In order to lead other people in prayer, I needed to be able to pray better. And so it just kind of walked you through how to actually listen to the Lord and how to sort of be present to God in prayer. And prayer became less of just me thinking through things and trying to figure out what God wanted, and more about being open to receiving, what God was doing in my life. Anyway, so fast forward to Advent, and I thought, why don't you have an Advent meditation book that instead of giving people a bunch of canned meditations and having them think about the meditation, it just gave you a scripture passage, just like a retreat. Gave you a scripture passage, walked you through how to pray with that scripture passage. And so that after Christmas, I had a little vacation to Mexico, and I brought a bunch of books with me, and every day spent an hour or two working on this, outlining it and trying to figure out exactly how it would go. So then I gave it to a publisher, and they're like, well, that looks really good, but we are already set for December of 2019. You'd have to work on a December of 2020 book. And so that basically gave me a whole year, 9 months or so to write the darn thing, which I needed all of that time. I just got the manuscript in January, and but we've been going through revisions and stuff, and it's looking really good. I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome. And I heard the phrase walking with Jesus a couple times there. I know there's a deeper meaning behind that. I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk about that with us.
Yeah, well, another thing that really inspired me was walking pilgrimages. Back when I was in seminary, I went to the North American College in Rome, and I did a mini version of the Camino. It's called the Camino Português, and it's that famous walk, but there's lots of different routes. You can start in northern Spain, that's the Camino Inglés. You can start, the famous one starts in the Pyrenees Mountains with France and walks all the way across Spain, takes 30 days. We didn't have 30 days, so we started on the border between Portugal and Spain and walked north to Santiago de Compostela, where the St. James, Jesus' good friend of Peter, James, and John fame, where his body is buried. And I just really loved it. It was very simple. It was walking every day, spending the night in hostels. And it opened my mind up to a lot of the way that God is present in everyday life and connecting with nature and just the Lord being with you on the way, kind of that Emmaus journey.
Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to answer this one here. I say Advent comes around, I want to do something to get closer to Jesus. There are a lot of different options I could go with. Why would we pick your book as opposed to something else? What makes yours special that separates it from anything else that's out there?
Okay. Well, as I mentioned before, it's sort of that sense of that it's not just a meditation book, but it teaches you how to meditate. So if you know how to pray, it'll help you pray better. If you don't know how to pray, it'll just kind of give you baby steps. That's one thing. The second thing that makes this book different is most Advent meditation books stop at Christmas. So you spent your 20-some days meditating on Advent, boom, you're at Christmas, you're done. There's a few that continue to the baptism of the Lord. Mine continues to the Feast of the Presentation, which is February 2nd, Candlemas. It's 40 days after. Technically, it's already not even Christmas anymore. But then you spend like 28 days more or less in Advent and sort of this preparation, and then 40 days in feasting, kind of like the Lenten journey, right? 40 days of feasting, 40 days of fasting, 50 days of feasting. So it's a lot easier to pray after Christmas, and so it kind of keeps that going. Like you kind of try to build it during Advent, but hey, if you got busy during Advent, you weren't able to meditate like you wanted, there's 40 more days for you to keep doing it, and that it carries you through that January lull. So there's a lot of value to this book. The third thing is it sees the Advent journey as a walking pilgrimage. So it's not about this big aha moment. When you go on most pilgrimages, you fly to France or whatever, you take a bus to Lourdes, you get off the bus and you're like, okay, where's the big moment, right? Well, I've led about 10 walking pilgrimages in the United States. In fact, that flag back there is one of the flags we use to kind of mark the pilgrims so people don't hit us when we're walking on the road. But and it's about the journey. There's not necessarily a big aha moment at the shrine, but it kind of changes you in that slow, steady pace. And that's what I wanted to give people in Advent, was don't prepare for this like big aha moment at Christmas. Ta-da, here's Jesus. But instead, like, how can you see Jesus each day? How can you be with Jesus each day? How can you walk, as you said, walk with Jesus every day? And so that's that third thing, is this sense of like just opening your eyes to that everyday presence instead of expecting some big dramatic presence of Jesus.
All right. I like that. I like that a lot. And where would this book be available?
So Our Sunday Visitor is the publisher.
Okay.
And so it's going to be on their website, OSV. You'll be able to find it on my own website, pilgrimpriest.us, when it comes out. It won't come out probably until July or August. I will be able to hold a book in my hand, but right now it's just in process.
All right. Well, sounds very interesting, Father. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Welcome. Hey, I brought you a little treat because, it is Friday oh, shoot, darn it. I got one for you and one for me, but I guess virtual, so I might have to eat both of them. I thought a little Danish, celebrate the octave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, all that just to play the quarantine joke.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
And that is all the time we have today. What an ending.
All right.
Thank you so much, Father Joel, for joining us. This was a lot of fun. And hey, make sure you all join us next week again for another great episode of Fridays with Father.
All right, God bless. Stay safe out there, everybody. Wear your mask. We'll see you on the flip side.